Hey there, it's Terrence from Photography in 123, and today I'm going to talk to you about photographing waterfalls. Specifically, one technique with waterfalls is getting that misty-like essence from the water when you're photographing a waterfall. And I think for some photographers that are new to doing waterfall exposures, it can be a bit of a mystery of how you actually get that effect. So I'm going to explain how you do that. The first thing that I want to show you, actually, just so you understand what we're talking about, is a couple photos of some waterfalls. So I'm going to put up two photos here. First photo is going to be a waterfall here. You see it's cool waterfall scene. You notice that the water is frozen in terms of how it's coming down, so the water is stopped in action. And while it looks kind of cool, it doesn't have that misty effect. Now, as you can see with this waterfall photo, very different look. The water looks more continuous. You could see the mistiness of the water when it's splashing down at the bottom, and the water as it's going over the edge looks very different than when it was frozen. This is what I'm going to show you how to do. Three things you'll need for this, so it's going to be pretty straightforward, pretty easy for you to do. So, number one, you want to use a tripod. And you don't normally need to use a tripod for photographing a waterfall. You're outside, nice and sunny, and if you're just looking to freeze the water, not an issue. You could do handheld, not a big deal. But if you're looking to accentuate the motion of the water going over the edge and catch that mist-like effect when it's dropping down and splashing back up, then you definitely do need to use a tripod. And the reason is you're going to be slowing down the shot quite a bit. And I'll explain how we're going to do that in a minute. So what you want to do is go get a tripod. If you have one already, great. Just use what you have. If you do not have one, then check out the link below to Amazon. I use a Manfrotto tripod. They're really good. When you're looking at tripods, don't go cheap. My advice, at least not super cheap. Don't need to get the most expensive one either. Get something that has a bit of weight to it, because end of the day, that's going to lend to stability in holding up the camera. Something that's very light and cheaply made will be able to move around a lot easier, won't get rid of the vibrations as much. So don't use those kinds of tripods. Go get a good one. So check out the link below and see what kind of tripod you can get if you don't already have one. The second thing you will need to have, and this is what makes all the difference, and this is the secret all the photographers use to get those misty shots on waterfalls. Not the camera, you're going to need one of these, a neutral density filter. So if you know what one is and you have it, great. You're going to need to use that for this technique as well. If you do not know what it is, then essentially all it is a filter you put on the front of your camera. And let me pop this open and show you. And there, you see, all it is a dark filter. And if I show that I do this by my lens, it darkens everything up quite a bit. Looks like I've got some dust on there I've got to clean. So it'll make the image a lot darker. And all you do is screw this bad boy on the front of your camera, like so. If I can actually do it. I'm putting it on top of a UV filter right now, but you don't need to. And you would take your photo with that on there. What this does is it makes the shot, the light coming in less, equally decreased, but it doesn't affect any of the color. So it's not like it's a colored filter that's going to affect how reds or blues or any one color looks. All the colors are reduced proportionally. And this filter, ND9, so they're usually rated in like ND, so ND 2, 4, 8, I guess is an ND9. You can get ND different versions. The bigger the number after the ND, the more the effect is. What that means is when we take a shot now, you need to have the exposure open, the aperture open longer for the right amount of light to come in to expose properly. That is exactly what we want for a long waterfall shot, is a longer exposure. Because you're probably going to take photos of these in the sun on a bright, pretty day. And if you're not using one of these filters, your camera's going to say, hey, to take a good shot here, it needs to be 1/80th of a second or 1/200th of a second. Otherwise, it's going to get too much light and it's going to be overexposed. Putting this on will allow you to take that longer shot. What a lot of guys do, or gals who are photographers, will carry a few of these because you can stack them. Obviously, you don't want to have too many on your lens at once. You only want to have a few filters on, but you could have potentially keep a couple of ND4s or ND8s and put one on. If you want to slow it down even more, put a second or a third on, and I would say up to 3 is probably what you'd want to do. And then after that, you can take a long exposure on your tripod because you want it stable, and you will get that misty effect that you're looking for. If you do not have a neutral density filter, I recommend all photographers have one in their bag. Go to the link below to Amazon and find a filter. Make sure it's the right size for your lens. Your lens will have, let me take this off, a size rating. If you can see it right here, see 77 mils is what's on my lens, so every lens will be a bit different. You want to get one that's the same size, so it'll screw on. And if you have different lenses you might use for photography, and if they're different sizes, you'll need to get ND filters for each of those sizes. But go to the link down now and get some if you don't have some. Fantastic, because they're great for a lot of different creative shots. And the last piece we're going to look at is what setting you need to have it on. Outside of your basic settings, you want an ISO as high as or as low as possible, so 100, or if you can do lower, that's great. Frankly, don't worry about all the other settings, but you probably want to have typical spot metering and single shot, all that kind of great stuff. I always shoot in RAW. But over here, key, on the Canon camera, TV, you want to be able to control the shutter speed. And now if you see here, I'm adjusting the shutter speed for a waterfall. You're going to want to start really maybe 10th of a second or lower. It's flashing right now because I'm inside, so I'm not in a high bright area. But if I'm outside in the sun taking a look at a waterfall, keep on lowering that. You want to make sure that you're it's not creating an issue for the aperture size you're using, but also use a pretty wide aperture, frankly. Try various settings from maybe 1/10 of a second to a second, couple of seconds, several seconds. It really depends on the ND filter you have. But doing this, it's what's going to get these silky photos that will look so good. So hopefully this helped. In summary, 3 things: tripod, ND filter, and then have a long exposure. Doing that will get fantastic waterfall shots. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please click on like, and that'll help me out quite a bit. Subscribe if you want to get updated videos after this and as I put them out. Hit the bell icon if you want to be notified right away, and share this with anybody who might want to know more about it. One more thing, if you are interested in taking fantastic sunset photos, then right below in the comments here, I've got a link so you can get a free 6 secrets to taking amazing sunset photos. One of the guides I created, it's core techniques like this that are really succinct and needed to take a great sunset photo. Go to that link right now, sign up, and you can learn how to take amazing sunset photos right away. Lastly, if you are going to take sunset photos, or you're going to take waterfall photos, or whatever you're going to do, this is especially good for landscape photography. Go to my YouTube video where I show you how to take fantastically sharp photos. There's a bunch of techniques and a bunch of settings you can change on your camera to take a really sharp photo, and I go over that in that video. Got a lot of people watching it, a lot of likes on it, so I think it's really hitting the mark for what people are looking for. Go check that out right now. Obviously, I've got other videos on my site. Check out whatever might help. And if you have questions on specific things or want to learn specific techniques, put it in the comments below. And if I can help you out, I will. And I will try to reply to everybody. Thanks and have a good one.